Hey guys, Technicosm here, and today I'm going to be doing a video showing you every single, or at least a part of a video, showing you every single effect in FL Studio. There are definitely more here than you will have in your FL Studio if you've just opened a brand new FL Studio and you don't have any extra plugins. A lot of these are from Faceplant, because when you get Faceplant, you get a lot of inbuilt effects that come with Faceplant, and you get those effects separate from Faceplant, so that if you have a DAW like FL Studio, you can have the Faceplant effects on synths besides Faceplant. So that's what most of these are here. Don't worry, I am only going to cover the free ones. I'm only going to talk about the FL ones. I meant to say that I think I said in the other video that I was planning on talking about some of the more important third-party ones, so I wasn't just going to skip all the third-party ones, but then, of course, that video ended up being 3 hours. Now, I expected that video to be long, but when I thought long, I thought this video is probably going to be like an hour and a quarter. I did not expect it to take 3 hours to talk about every single generator in FL Studio, so of course that is probably going to be split up into about 6 parts. I don't know, I haven't uploaded it yet. It depends if Movie Maker's going to let me. No, but that should be split into about 6 parts, because I think half an hour. Like, to be fair, you probably wouldn't have guessed this from my uploads, but like, I don't like the idea of hour-long videos necessarily. Like, usually I would be like, oh, I don't care if it's long as I've got a good amount of information in there. But then, like, I'm surprised how long some of these videos end up being. So, because of that, yeah, I'm probably gonna, I think 30 to 40 minutes is a nice cut-off point. So, I'm probably gonna make sure to try and keep videos to that length from now on. Again, I'll be able to cut these much better once I actually have a computer that can handle an editing software besides Movie Maker. And even then, when it can handle Movie Maker, it takes multiple hours just to cut bits out of one. Not even add any effects in the editing, just cut bits out, just because it's that slow. Anyway, enough about me complaining about my piece of trash laptop. Time to talk about the actual video. So you may notice we're not in an empty FL Studio. We're in customtemplate.flp. This is a template that I have made for my tracks, so that from now on, they will all be color-coded and labeled and just way more organized. These little drop downs are for automation. The one over here is for side chaining and automation of drums and stuff like that. And you can see they're all nice and organized. This is because this is something that I've been meaning to do for a while, but there are multiple reasons why I've done this. The first reason is actually, and I just realized that I don't think I've actually mentioned this on the channel yet, but when I release the Avian Omen CP, I'm planning on giving you all the FLPs for free. And not just the FLPs, but also the zip loop packages. Now, if you don't know what a zip loop package is, I didn't before, and I didn't care about them, because I thought, loops? Who cares about loops? I don't care about Fruit Loops! Anyway, yeah, that's what I thought. And because of that, I ignored it for a while, this option with file export. There it is. But basically what it does is it saves your project, but it saves it in a zip file, and then if you try to open the zip file, it will actually keep all the samples in it. So what I mean is, if you open an FLP, but you don't have all the samples in the project, the samples you don't have will just go silent. There'll just be nothing there. You'll get a warning saying, hey, there's no samples here, and then you'll just get silence where it should play that sample. But if you get a zip loop package, it will compress the files for the samples with the FLP, so that when you open it up, you will have the samples. They won't be gone. That's how it works. So yeah, that is well. In fact, just a moment, just to demonstrate as well. No, I'm not actually going to open another project, so don't worry. Oh yeah, because it's this project. Just a moment. I have to go downloads, applications. I've got all my projects in the FL Studio 12 projects folder, because I didn't realise there was a project folder in FL 20 because they moved it to a different place. And since I've started putting them, but yeah, if I wanted to open one of these, I would just have to double click this here. So you don't even have to unzip the files. You literally open the zip file from there. Anyway, so yeah, I'll be giving out FLPs and zip loop packages for all 6 tracks in Avian Omens. Now, just to give a little bit of a warning, although I hope that you're still excited about a few of you, This is obviously because I want to encourage remixes and VIPs and stuff like that. I would be very happy to see you work on that, do those kind of things. And I'm completely fine with you, obviously. I'm obviously not completely fine with you taking the whole thing and then re-uploading it and saying you made it. But, you know, I'm not so scared of that I'm going to make it stop me from giving you these. But what I do want you to be able to do is I do want you to be able to look at these and maybe learn something from what I've done. And I also want people who want to be able to make remixes. I want to make it as easy as possible on them. So yeah, but I also want to make it clear that you're not necessarily going to find it pips to do everything, copy everything from my tracks. Just because I'm giving you the FLPs. There's a few things that are going to make it a little bit difficult. First of all is that because this laptop is a piece of crap, and because it can't handle very much in terms of FL Studio, I've had to do a lot of consolidating and deleting old stuff to try and make these projects work. Now, to be fair, I say a lot of. I don't like doing that. Like, I only do it when I have to, usually. So most projects, I haven't done that too much. You still have most of the original sounds, like, and how I made them, and they're not just samples of what they are. But I can't tell you that I've got all of them. There are a couple in Foul, and I think Unkindness is the biggest one where a lot of the basses aren't there anymore, just recordings of what they were. So, sadly, there will be a few basses that you won't be able to completely copy. However, you will have the notes for everything. If you need the notes for anything, or any of the tracks, you'll have all the notes you need to play the same, tune. And you will have most of the basses. But, yeah, the especially CPU-intensive ones aren't there. And I also would like to add that you can ask me how I made them, if you want. Obviously I'll try and get back to you on that. I don't remember how I made all of them. There are a couple that I've forgotten, but the majority of them I remember. And in fact, now I think about it, a couple of the Unkindness ones that are gone, I still have phase plant presets of them. So, yeah, maybe I'll do something about that when I release them. Maybe I'll kind of like make a note of that. Anyway, I kind of got completely sidetracked there, but that was just about talk, because I just thought it was important to tell you that I will be giving FLPs for the Avian Omens tracks. So yeah, hopefully that gets you even more excited. But this was one of the reasons why I needed to make this template project, was because this template project has makes it, if I start making a track in this project, obviously everything's going to be color coded and put in simple, nice places, and because of that, I'll be able to, if you opened an FLP that started from this, you would find it much easier to get where everything is. Now, the problem is that when I made this thing was relatively recently, and of course I'd already started every single track in Avian Omens, so they don't go off this template. Now, it's not that I don't organise at all in FL Studio, but I'm not going to lie, I don't do a whole lot of organisation, because I'm the only other person who ever sees my FLPs, and this is kind of the first time that's changed. So, because of that, you might find some of them a bit hard to look at and a bit messy, so I'm afraid you're just going to have to deal with that this time. And, that next EP, I plan to keep releasing the FLPs for it until I go professional, if that ever happens. So, because of that, yeah, next EP, hopefully you'll be able to see the FLPs, and they will all be color-coded like this. Well, actually, I can't guarantee it'll be the next one, because the next one might be an EP I've actually been working on longer than Avian Omens, technically, and that was all the way back when I couldn't save. I've made half of those tracks, so I can't give you the FLPs for those. But still, basically in future, I plan to give the FLPs, and I plan for them to be all organised like this. The template project, as well, this is something that I honestly should have done ages ago, because every single time I open an FL Studio project, I basically do the exact same thing with my drums and sidechaining. There's obviously differences sometimes from track to track, but it's so mind-numbing doing the same thing over and over and over, and I don't know why earlier I didn't just stop and think, hey, why don't I just do it once and then save it, and then just open that save every time I need to do it. I really do not know why I didn't think to do that, but I've done it now. So yeah, this has got sidechaining all in it. It's got some relatively good drums that I could replace if I was unsatisfied with them, obviously, but they should do the job in most areas. And of course, these chords, I think I mentioned before, but just in case I didn't, I do not plan on having these be there as a thing that like every single track is going to have this now. No, that's not what's going to happen. These chords are basically just there for me to delete instantly, unless I have absolutely no ideas and I just want to make a bass and I don't want to bother about what notes it's playing. I can obviously use this chord progression as notes to use for that bass. And of course, as well as that, if I want that bass to sound like it's in a full track, even though I haven't made a full track, I could obviously just put the piano chords and the... actually, did I don't even remember already. Yeah, I did, because I was showing you the sidechain piano chords. I was about to say, I don't even remember if I even showed you what this sounded like. But yeah. So, yeah, I could play this with the bass underneath and, you know, it'd sound more full. Anyway, so, with all that out of the way, that's what this project is for. And the reason why we've opened it in this video talking about every effect in FL Studio is because... Pardon me. It's because we can now have this piano sound and add effects to the piano sound nice and easily from here. Now I just want to talk about one thing. I don't know if this is something you've noticed much in my videos, because I'm not actually sure how much you've seen it, but I have a tendency to kind of place these in a way that might seem very weird to someone at first. You might notice there's an effect already on here. It's an OTT. It's basically compressing this piano, and we'll get to compression later without it. So it just makes it a nice bit sharper, a bit more powerful. We're going to keep that on just because I like it sounding like that. It's not really doing anything except making the piano sound sharper, so it's not going to mess with the effects or anything. As long as we do them after the OTT. So yeah, this is actually relevant to what I was about to say. You might notice that sometimes in my tracks, I place these in seemingly really weird places. Like, is this OTT in slot 3? Because the first and second slots are supposed to, like, they had something there and I deleted it. No, there was never anything there. I just put the OTT in slot 3 straight away. Well, why'd you do that? Well, it's because the order in which you place effects actually matters. Well, not all the time. It depends what effects they are. But, little heads up, if you're using distortion, yeah, that matters. I can't think of... In fact, I don't think there is a single effect where it doesn't matter which order you have it in with distortion. And I would say that you should basically... I would recommend looking into it a little bit more, or learning how to understand how the order is important. But if you want a general rule for now, because I don't really want to go into the whole explanation of it yet, I might talk about it more when we actually get to distortion. I think I'll talk more in detail when we get to distortion about why this is. But just the general rule I would say is, if it is any effect that isn't something like a delay or a reverb, you know, some kind of... If there's an effect that isn't an echo kind of effect, then put it before distortion. If it is a kind of echo effect, put it after distortion. But there are, of course, places where there can be exceptions and stuff like that. But yeah, the order in which you put effects matters, and because of that, I often put distortion towards the middle, or kind of 5, 6, 7, this kind of area. Same kind of idea with compression. And I'll often put like echoes and stuff like that towards the end, and stuff like flanges and stuff towards the beginning. This is only on 3, which is a low one for distortion, because I mentioned that's 5, 6, 7 for me. Well, this is technically not distortion, this is compression, but it's a similar kind of thing going on. The reason why that's there is just because I'm not going to be putting many effects onto a piano that change the way it fundamentally sounds, so there'd be less things I'd be doing before I'd be distorting it. So that's why it's in this 3rd slot. Anyway, that's a little bit of a convoluted kind of thing there, but yeah, enough explaining that. And let's actually start on the effects, which is going to be a little bit difficult because I've got so many non-FL effects that it's actually making me forget which ones are FL and which aren't. I earlier opened 3-band EQ thinking that was an FL effect when it's a kilohertz effect, basically part of the faceplate effects. So yeah, anyway, Control Surface, I believe, is the first FL effect in alphabetical order. This... Ignore it. Just no, forget it exists. No, you don't want to use it. Okay, so Control Surface, basically the point is that you can create your own buttons, sliders, and knobs and kind of things like that, and then you can map them to certain effects or parameters of certain synths, and then you can have it so that when you turn that knob, it turns the knobs on other synths and blah blah blah. It's not a bad idea, that, is it? You know, maybe I do want to have one knob that controls multiple things, and maybe I do want to learn Control Surface Technocosm. Well, the reason why I'm telling you not to use it is because you cannot automate any of the knobs or buttons you make inside a control surface, which means that you can only manually use them. You can't, like, if you're about to export your project, you couldn't have any of the knobs move while you're exporting it, like, you know, because again, there's no automation. So the only point of that would be to create a project and then play it live and then manually control it live. So yeah, so I think it's really made for like DJs, you know, if they want to mess with like things in the track like live, they can turn the knobs in that. But like that's very specific and not very useful most of the time. So yeah, and it does, to be fair, it does make it simpler for DJs if the DJs don't actually know how the track works, but they want to be able to make effects on it. You know, they can just have knobs that they turn and stuff like that with much more intuitive things, and I think you can name them and say what they do basically. So yeah, that's the point of Control Surface. The reason why I'm not showing you is because I'm not gonna lie, I did know how to use it before and I've forgotten, and I don't want to go through all the effort of learning how to do it again since I know it's going to be pointless. Like for most of these, I don't mind learning how to use them again just so I can show you, because even though it's probably not going to be useful, at least I can kind of use it for something. But Control Surface is literally useless unless you want it for that weird specific purpose. Anyway, the next effect is Destructor. I accidentally skipped this last time. I was like, wasn't it Edison? Oh no, it's Destructor. I guess I didn't use Destructor earlier. No. Okay, so Destructor this is one we're gonna have to come back to. I'm afraid this is, I don't, you know, I've done so many recordings of this now that I'm forgetting which ones are the ones where I said which things. So hopefully I'm not repeating myself. But as I mentioned before, but maybe not on video, basically, I can't do these in alphabetical order entirely. I would like to, however, there are some effects which have other effects inside them. Destructor is one of them. So, yeah. Oh, you know what I also said, and I've already broken the rules on. I also said that every single time I finished talking about an effect, I would stop talking about that effect. And I would stop the recording, and then I would start another recording for each new effect, so that it would be much easier to edit down. And you know what I've done? I've just finished talking about Control Surface, and I started talking about the next one. You know what, maybe I'll start doing that once I've done this first part. Maybe we'll go for about like half an hour or something. I don't know when I start recording, damn it. Actually, does it say on OBS? I feel like it probably would. Oh yes, 17 minutes. So yeah, we'll go until we hit about the half-hour mark, and then we'll start following that rule of one plug-in each. But yeah, but yeah, I want to do one recording for each plugin, just so that means if I mess up and I decide I want to cut that out, it's much easier. I can just delete the entire recording and start a new recording, where I hopefully do it better and there's less to cut out. Anyway, so getting really sidetracked. These effects that have multiple other effects in them, I'm not going to talk about them. Not until the end, just because, like, what are you, like, what's the point? Because, like, if I start talking about Destructor, I have to explain distortion, but I'm going to get to a distortion plugin later anyway. And if I start talking about Destructor, I also have to start talking about bit crushing, which I'm going to get to bit crushing later anyway. And stuff like the next one after Destructor is Edison, and then after Edison is Effector. And then Effector has a flanger, a phaser, and all that kind of stuff in it. And it's like, I'm going to be talking about flangers and phasers later anyway. Like, I don't want to just explain what a flanger or a phaser does. Like, I have to explain a million things in one. And then when I'm done, every other plugin is just going to be like, we already explained that when we were talking about Effector. We already explained that when we were talking about Destructor. So yeah, basically we're going to talk about those at the end. They do have a few unique things, I think, in a couple of them. So yeah, Edison, that's the real one. Oh, you know what? I did have a good thing that I recorded earlier that was kind of spontaneous with Edison, that I don't have anymore, and that kind of sucks, but oh well. But Edison. So, in fact, I'll still do the same thing I did last time. Basically, I started using Serum for a second with Edison, and it was kind of spontaneous and actually turned out really nice what I got. And I'm not going to make the exact same thing, but I'm going to use the same sample. Basically, Edison is your mini Audacity inside of FL Studio. You put in sound files. And basically the main point is that you can edit these sound files, you can cut bits out, you can play them on loop, or certain sections on loop. I haven't even played this sample on its own to you. The whole sample sounds like this. So, say there's just one part I'd really like. It's somewhere around here? Yeah, just a sec. That's nice. So, we're going to take that. And now we have on its own. And say, to make this loop a little bit better, I want this to fade in a little bit. I can add a little edit, actually no, tools, fade in. And now I can hear the whole thing when it fades in. Another thing you can also do is you can also put it into reverse, or reverse the polarity. There's reverse. But I don't want to reverse it, I want to... reverse polarity, by the way, will make it so that it goes down when it goes up, down... it goes up when it goes down, and down when it goes up. So, like that. Anyway, and I can also mess with the time. Which, by the way, this works in multiple ways. You can have this both work with time in that it's... I think I'll make this there. You can make it both work in time so that it changes the pitch, and also make it in time that it just changes the length of time without changing the pitch. That's to do with granular synthesis and all that. So yeah, and there's different methods. I don't know all about these, but you can have different methods of doing it. That's interesting. But yeah, anyway, as I was saying before, I opened up Serum for a second, and you may be wondering why I was opening up Serum, especially because it's not an FL synth. But it's just to demonstrate a very specific problem with Serum that Edison fixes. And it also is going to demonstrate one of Edison's features, so that is applicable to other things as well, so that's why I am going to use Serum here. We are going to have to deal with Serum possibly crashing. Oh hey, it didn't! I guess it warmed up after the last time. The last time it took a good couple minutes to open. I'm going to put it into detach mode so I can put it over here. That does mean it's always going to be on top of the Edison, which is kind of annoying, but still. So yeah, Serum. I'm not going to go into explaining this because I think I'm going to make a separate video about important third-party synths. But this is Serum, and the big draw about Serum is that it's a wavetable synthesizer. You can give it a sample and it will turn it into multiple different wave shapes based on that sample, which you can then switch between the different wave shapes, and it's pretty cool. The only problem is, hey, I've got a sample right here. And I've heard that all you have to do is click and drag your sample over this box, and it will let you put it into the Serum. So let's do that. What? What? Let me try this file. What? So yeah, basically what's going on is Serum only accepts compressed WAV files. And don't worry about the compressed bit. Every WAV file I've tried works. I think that... I don't know if there's uncompressed WAV files out there. I think they're just compressed by default. But yeah, anyway, now, this could be really annoying, because you could be like, wow, great, now I have to go convert that into a WAV file, I can't be bothered, and maybe you have multiple different MP3s that you wanted to use as samples in there. It's like, grr, that's a lot of work, I don't want to deal with it. Well, it might not always be the best solution, but I think that this is a very nice trick to know, is that, at least I think, everything you put into Edison becomes a WAV file. So now, I can just take this sample that... It's the same sample, it's an MP3 file, so it shouldn't be able to go into Serum, but now I can click and drag it using that button, which, by the way, this is the point that is applicable to everything. That's the button you use. You click and hold it, and then you let go once you're on top of something. And you can click and drag that into a sampler. You can click and drag that into anything that takes a sample inside a generator. So this won't work just in Serum. And you have all the different ways you can convert into a wavetable. I'm going to just go with, I don't know, pitch average. And now we have our sample in here. Now you're probably thinking that does not sound right. Well, if I switch it into this view, you can see actually it is right. It's just that we're only playing one moment in time. That probably sounds a lot better to you. And it's going to sound a lot better once I map this to this LFO so that it automatically moves. Okay, when I said a lot better, I didn't mean that it would sound like a better sound. And I'm just going to have a very brief bass design session. I'm going to try and keep this quick, but I just want to mess around with it a bit. I can't resist. OTT time. Oh, that sounds better actually. I'm so tempted to explain what I'm doing right now, but it's probably better for me to save it until I actually have a video on Serum, or again, just on generally third-party plugins. I'm going to go with 0 phases. There we go. Wait, wrong button. Come on. I'm almost done, I just have to, mess around a little bit more. Nice, and then I'll have a high pass here. And then I'll stop, I swear. LeFou. I want to try band pass now though. That's better. Anyway, okay, right, I'll stop. I'll stop now. Okay, so yeah, that's what Edison does. Also, please remember to delete your Edison when you're done with it, because I believe that if you start playing this track now, that the sound inside the Edison would play when I press play, like at the start of the song, which obviously you don't want. Also, I don't think it matters at all what like mixer track your Edison is on, because you basically use it as a separate program. It doesn't really take the input from this piano, if you know what I mean. So yeah. Anyway, then there is Effector, which is another thing that we're going to have to skip, because it's another multiple effects in one kind of deal. So yeah, I was about to consider talking about some of the effects in here that are exclusive to it, but, well, not exclusive to it, but there isn't an FL equivalent, but it's probably better that I save that for later. So yeah, is the next one, what is EQO? Is that FL or is that... Oh! Okay, this is FL, I believe. Yes, it is. This is an interesting one, actually. Right, well, I'll talk about this in a second, but I believe we're hitting the half-hour mark, so I think I'll cut to it in the next episode. So,